Hi, I'm Mikaela, and this is Love Mikaela, a podcast where I talk about literally anything and everything that I want to. Today I thought it would be fun to talk about things that I did when I was little, like stories of little Mikaela, essentially. um, yeah, I just think I was funny. And maybe that's narcissistic, but I think I was funny. I think there are a lot of funny instances in my life when I was growing up. And I think my sister's funny. I'm going to talk about her a little bit too. Again, I have my notes down here with me. Um, so that's if you hear paper rustling, if you see me looking at something, it's my notes. Okay? Cool. Um, a reminder, because this is only the second time I'm doing this, you can just listen to the podcast on Spotify. If you'd like to watch like me talking to a camera and doing it, that will be up on my YouTube channel. You can just search Mikaela Miyamoto and it should pop up. But yeah, let's just get started. When I was little, my parents had this camcorder that they used to record a lot, like so much. And one of my favorite things for a while now, probably at least since I entered college, but maybe even before that, has been watching the old home videos and just seeing like what I was like when I was little, what my family was like when we were little. Just the fun little things, what they thought was important enough to record, stuff like that. Let's see what is first. Oh, I have some other stuff that like wasn't on the home video but are just like stories that I've been told over and over and over that I like know that I think are funny. One of those stories actually I'm going to start with because it's when I was the youngest out of all of these stories, I think. And it's that when I was little, I honestly was like really smart. Like just even watching the home videos, I'm like, oh wow, I was like kind of eloquent for like the age I was at. Like I am rewatching some of the old videos right now just to see if there was anything that came up that I was like, oh, I should include that in this podcast. But I've only made it up until 2002, beginning of 2002, and that would be when I was 5 because I was born 97. So about 4 or 5 is how far I've gone. I'm like a really good talker. Um, I don't know if that's normal for that age, and I'm just like thinking that I'm like better than I actually am, but yeah, I was just a good talker. But I was smart, and one of the stories that proves that I was smart, not just a good talker, was when I was younger, I was really, really into my binky or pacifier. It depends on like, I don't know what you would call it. I think I called it my binky. I'm pretty sure. I really, really liked it, and it was getting to the point where I was getting too old to be using a binky. Like, it was like, oh, maybe I need to step off from that. And so my parents were trying all these different things. My mom was trying all these different things to try and like get me weaned off of the binky. They tried putting, I think, sour stuff on it, like lemon juice or something. They tried, I think, hiding it. Nothing was working, whatever it was they were trying, and I just wanted it all the time. And it was getting to the point where they were getting like, not desperate, but they really were like, what else can we try to get this kid to stop using the binky? So, one of the things they decided was to put hot sauce on my binky. And the story is that so in my house we have step stools so that way like if I need to go use like the sink to wash my hands after the bathroom, I have a step stool that I can use to wash my hands and I don't have to ask like for help. I took my binky, went to the sink, put my step stool out, got on the step stool, turned the sink on, rinsed my binky off, like I rinsed the hot sauce off, and then I stuck the binky back in my mouth, and then binky was fine, and I could use it still. And that's a story that my parents would tell a lot to show how much I really liked the binky and how smart I was, I guess. Yeah, little Mikaela was like, whatever this stuff is that's on the binky, it's not a part of the binky, and I need it gone so I can use the binky. So that's what I did. I rinsed it off. Eventually, what they did was they cut the binky because then you can't suck on it anymore. It loses like the, I don't know, feeling or texture. I don't know. I don't really know how binkies work, but if you cut it, it loses the binky-ness of it. And so that's how they got me weaned off the binky. My mom said this, I don't know if this is the case. My mom said that I learned to walk and talk really fast. And while I was watching videos, I realized I truly did not stop talking. Like, I didn't stop talking. I talked all the time, which makes sense why I'm doing this. But I literally did not stop talking. My bachan, which is my grandmother on my mom's side, she said that she thought I was going to be like a radio announcer or like a host or something because I literally talked so much when I was a little kid. And watching the home videos back, I'm like, oh yeah, I think this is the first time that I've watched the home. Oh my goodness, look at this. I think this is the first time I've watched the home videos where I've really like paid attention to what I was doing as a kid and my personality as a kid. Normally I would just watch them just to like kind of have fun and reminisce. But this time I was like really paying attention to that and I was like, "Oh wow, no, like I really even when I was like little, like even when I first started talking, even when I was just babbling, I would babble nonstop. And then when I finally started talking, like I did not shut up ever, which is insane a little bit. And I'm honestly surprised watching these home videos back that I didn't think of like film and TV because I'm an actor. I've said it before on the podcast. Um, I'm surprised that that wasn't a career option for me until way later in life, considering like I love, like you can tell when you're watching the home videos, I love being on camera. I've always loved attention. That's a given. But I loved being on camera and I also always wanted to see what the screen looks like on the camera. Like there's multiple instances in like multiple videos of me going to my mom who's behind the camera and be like, let me see, I want to see, I want to see. Or there's a ton of instances where like I ask my mom, like I can hear it in my head right now, one of the videos where I turn to my mom, she's like videotaping my sister and I like get in the camera and then I look at my mom and I'm like talk to me, mommy, talk to me. Like I want her to be asking me questions while she's got the camera out and she goes, "Okay, like what?" And I say, she's like, "What do you want me to say?" And I go, "Say what you doing, Kayla." And so then my mom goes, "What you doing, Mikaela?" And then I say, "Eating a sucker," because I was eating like a lollipop or something that I had gotten. Like it's funny. It's really funny to see how that trait of wanting to talk, not wanting to talk, I guess wanting to talk and just not knowing when to shut up has carried over into my adult life because even like obviously I do this and this is fun and I'm an actor and I like being on camera, especially this is a tangent and not super related, but I do just want to mention it. I was talking with a coworker the other day about being on stage versus being on camera, and he was saying how he prefers being on stage because it feels less fake, which fair, because when you're doing like a play or something, you're doing it all like sequentially in order. You only do each thing one time. When you film something, you typically don't do it in order. You typically would do it like, I mean, it depends on how it's laid out, but a lot of times you would do it based on location just because of budget and like to save time. Like if you had to rent out a location for something, you're going to do all the scenes that you need in that location, whether some are at the beginning of the movie and some are at the end. Like you do all of it there just so that way you're not having to move everything a bunch of times and you're not wasting time doing that. And you're also saving money because you don't have to rent out that location multiple days in a row. And so it's not as natural. And you also have to do like, you do multiple takes. So you're saying the same things over and over. And, you have to do it from different angles, so you're doing it over and over for that. Even if you just did one take per each like shot, like you would have to do it multiple times still. I love it. I prefer being on camera, so it's funny to see how much I loved being on camera when I was little, and doing all of that. But one thing that I will say is that I was always a performer, whether actor, singer, because I used to want to be a singer because Josie and the Pussycats was my favorite movie when I was little. So I wanted to be a rock star, which I think I've mentioned in a podcast before. But yeah. Sorry, I'm just thinking about how funny that kind of is. Yeah, I wanted to be a singer, whether I wanted to be a singer or an actor or a host or an announcer for the radio. I've always loved being a performer, being like the center of attention. That hasn't changed ever since I was little. Even if there were times where I'm still like to think I'm a like pretty shy person, not introverted, but like shy in the beginning typically. like if you drop me in a party where I know one other person, I'm gonna latch onto that person. If you drop me in a party where I know one other person and that person is the host and they can't cater to me, like I can't hang out with them the whole night because they're busy like being the host, it'll go one of two ways. Either I will seclude myself and like because I'm shy, or if I'm feeling it that night, I'll go out and talk to people. And just be a little extroverted butterfly. Yeah, but I would say I'm pretty shy typically when I first meet people. Like I'm friendly, but I'm pretty shy. But it's funny to see how I was still kind of like that when I was little. Not the shy part, because all the people I was around in those videos were family, so I wasn't uncomfortable or anything around any of them. And I didn't hesitate to act the way that I wanted to, and like as my true self, which was really cool to see. But yeah, I was always a performer. There's multiple videos of me. Like, there's one time where I'm in dress up clothes and I'm like trying to put on a show. I have like little high heels that don't fit me that are on. They're play high heels. They're not like my mom's, but like they still don't fit me because they're clearly meant for like someone in elementary school and I was a toddler. But I'm like clack, 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 clacking around on the floor. And I go, ladies and gentlemen, and then I like start a little. I don't even remember what I did. I just watched this like a couple days ago. I think I did like a little dance, and then I would like twirl, and then I would put my arms out like as if ta-da, and I would be like, thank you, like thanking as if there was this thunderous applause happening after I did it. Really cute to see. What else did I do? Oh, I don't know if this happened multiple times or if this was before or after. I did gymnastics when I was little, so I don't remember. I can't remember if I saw the home video of me doing my first gymnastics class before this or after, but I had a little like aerobics class in my parents' room. You guys can't see it. Behind the camera is this big mirror. It's my closet, but my closet, like the doors are mirrors that like slide, like they roll, and my parents have the same thing in their room, and then in my sister's bedroom it's the same thing. All of our closets, the doors are the mirror. So I was in my parents' bedroom at the time, and I was like in was I in a leotard? I might have been in a leotard or a swimsuit, maybe. And I'm jumping on the bed. I'm like, come on, ladies. Let's go, ladies. And I'm doing like what must be in my head a very intense aerobics workout. And I am like getting the girls to do some workout with me. And I'm like leading them in this. Like, you know those old like 80s workout like videos, or like the dance videos, 80s, 70s, 90s, I don't know when those came out. Whenever those like workout videos were really popular where you're like doing like dancing and stuff. I feel like it was 80s. Yeah. I was doing that. And then there's also this home video. I haven't watched it yet because it's not until the later years. I had a friend over. This is after the Cheetah Girls movie had been out, if you know, you know. And I don't know if it was her idea or my idea, but we decided to recreate the Cheetah Girls movie, but we were the stars of the Cheetah Girls movie. I don't think we followed the plot at all. In our heads, I'm sure we were following the plot perfectly. On the screen, from what I remember, because I haven't seen this in like a couple years at least, it wasn't giving what we thought it was giving. Which is fine. We're little kids. Like, I had to have been not older than like 6 or 7 at the most. I was probably 5 or 6 in the video. Again, I haven't watched that one yet, so like recently. But I do know that there's one part in it where it's very much the show must go on, and I step on a like open, for whatever reason, there was an opened box, like pencil case, one of those plastic ones. There was an open pencil case on the floor that had a bunch of colored pencils in it, and I stepped in it, flung a bunch of colored pencils out, and I was like, oops. I don't know if I said oops or if I just paused, and then we continued on with the show. Which I think is really, really funny. If you guys know the Wiggles, which apparently some people, I was watching a TikTok, I think, and I think it was Adam Conover from Adam Ruins Everything. Get his name right. Love him. Love what he does, and I loved his show. Anyway, I was watching a TikTok like interview he was doing with someone, and they mentioned like the Wiggles, and he was like, the what? And I was shocked that I was like, you don't know who the Wiggles are? Like, I know he's older than me, But I was like, even, I don't know, I guess he must have been in a generation where like he would have been like, I guess in college. Like my parents know it because I was a kid when it happened and they were my parents, so they know. But like if you're like not old enough to have kids, then I guess, and you weren't a kid, then I guess you wouldn't know. Anyway, that was wild to me. On the Wiggles, there was dog, and he was called Wags the dog, and there's this song, and it's like Wags the dog, he likes to tango. I don't even know the rest of the song. That's the only part I know because apparently we went to my aunt's house for Thanksgiving for like a good chunk of time. And she had cats, so she had cat toys everywhere, and there's this one cat toy. It was this like board, and then it had like a spring going up with like a little pom pom like ball thing at the top, so the cats could like bat at it, and it would like wave back and forth, you know. Sorry, I'm looking at a bruise I have. I don't know how I got that. Anyway, um, I would take that. It wasn't attached to anything. It was just like a little piece of wood, and then it had like a spring, and then a little pom pom at the top, and it would wiggle back and forth, and the cat could like bat at it and make it wiggle more. I would take that. Oh, this is hard to explain if you're just listening. Sorry if you're just listening, but if you're watching, you can see what I'm talking about. I would take that. This is my script. My script. These are my notes. I would take the thing like as if this is the cardboard box, and then I would stick it on my butt with the like pom pom thing hanging off as if it were my tail, and I would sing Wags the dog, he likes to tango, and wiggle my butt and wiggle the tail. And I don't know why I did it. I thought it was funny, I guess. My aunt thought it was really funny, and she tells me that story all the time. Yeah, so I liked being the center of attention. I always liked talking. I liked performing for other people, imagining I was performing for other people. I even like my mom said that her favorite time when like after my sister was born was when I would come home from preschool and then I would help her cook dinner. If I could help her, I would help her cook dinner because it was like the one time that she and I got to hang out after my sister had been born, because like we couldn't hang out anymore as much because my mom had to take care of my sister because she's little, well, littler than me. There's one video where I'm like rolling out pizza dough because we were having pizza for dinner that night, and I'm just like telling her the story of like what I did that day. We had gone to like the zoo, I guess, at my preschool. We went on a field trip. We went to the zoo. And it was just funny to see because I was like, what I was doing was giving vlogger. I'm surprised. There was a moment in time in middle school, either middle school or the very beginning of high school, where I like wanted to be a YouTuber because one, I like loved watching YouTubers. And two, I just thought it would be something fun. And I even went so far as to ask my parents for permission to post videos of myself online because I don't know, it felt like the thing I should do. My parents weren't like really strict, but strict enough that I like, or maybe it's not strict is the right word, but I like was brought up, I feel like, to always ask for permission to do like what seemed like bigger things, staying up past bedtime, or if I wanted to go hang out with friends. I don't know, just like really respectful. Also because like my father was like worked with computers and like cybersecurity for a living, so I think that probably was a part of why I was like, can I do this? Is this safe enough? Oh, you know, I think the biggest reason was because when I wanted to get a Facebook, my father was like, I'm going to set it up for you though and make sure all the security stuff is like safe, which honestly, good, honestly, glad he did because who knows what could have happened, because there are some like crazy stories about like early times. You know, kids are easier to fool and people like to prey on that, unfortunately. So it's probably good that he was safe. But also because I was underage, but I wanted to make YouTube videos, it was like, okay, let me ask my parents first. And they said yes. They said it was fine. So I'm surprised I didn't want to do that earlier. And then I didn't end up going through with it. I had one vlog because we'd gone to Disneyland, and I like vlogged the whole day, and I like literally edited it all together. And then I don't know why I just didn't end up posting it. But I'm doing this now, so here we are. But yeah, I'm not surprised that this is something that I was interested in, and that film and being an actor was something I was interested in, considering how I acted when I was younger. Another thing that I thought was really funny is during Christmas time, which used to be my favorite time of the year. Will it? Is it still my favorite time of the year? I don't know. I'm gonna see how I feel this year. Last year didn't really feel like Christmassy to me, but it was the first year that I had like a day job where I was making extra money, and so I could really like spoil my mom and my sister for Christmas. So that was fun. Also, just side note, not super important, but I'm not religious. It's more of just the I like gift giving is my love, one of my love languages, and so Christmas is a big and good time for me. But when we were little during Christmas, my father had this idea to use his boots and put, I don't know what it was, baby powder, cornstarch, maybe cornstarch, and he would like make footprints on the floor because we had a carpet, a green carpet. He would put footprints like leading from the chimney to like our little coffee table where like my sister and I would leave the milk and cookies out, and then there'd be like a note and the presents from Santa. And the first time that this happened, because I just watched this video. The first time that this happened, my dad goes to wake me up and he goes, Kayla, it's time to, like, you want to get up? You want to see if Santa came? And I shake my head no, because I'm tired. It couldn't have been that early, but I was tired, I guess. And then I said something like, he's not going to come if I get up too early or something like that. Because I think that's something that my parents probably told me. So that way I didn't get up super early. Which, side note, did end up happening later when I got older and still I believed in Santa for a really long time. But that did happen when I got older and still believed in Santa. I would literally, I think the earliest I ever got up was at 4 a.m. And I was like, Santa must have already come. I go and check. I would get up into the living room as quietly as I could, go and check my stocking and see what was in my stocking. If there's something wrapped in my stocking, I wouldn't unwrap it, but I would go and see what was in my stocking. Anything that was unwrapped was up for grabs. I'd go through it, I'd see what it was, I'd get all excited, I'd put it all back so that way my parents didn't know. I'm sure that they knew, but so my parents didn't know that I went through my stocking already, see what Santa got, see kind of like, oh, what kind of presents, like how big are the presents, how many presents, what's for me, what's for my sister. And then we also had a lot of shared presents from Santa, stuff like that. I would do that. And then as we got a little bit older, my sister then was like, will you wake me up too? I would give her another hour or 2 hours depending on what time I had gotten up, because I didn't want her up too early, because crazy. And I'm sure that there were times where I was like kind of bugging her, like, you want to get up with me? You want to come see? Because I didn't want to be by myself because I was excited. And then she would come in and join me, and then we wouldn't get our parents, like I would ask my parents, how early can I wake you up? And I think it was usually around 8 a.m. is what they would say, 8 or 9 was when we would get up. Anyway, so the very first time my father did the footprint thing, I get up, finally, I go and look, and he says, oh, look, Santa left a letter. And I go, oh, yeah. And he's like, why don't you read it? And I go, I can't read. Because I wasn't old enough to read yet, I guess. Like, I was little. And he goes, oh, okay. And then so he took it and then read it for me. And then later in the video, he goes, look, Santa left footprints. They're Santa tracks, huh? And I go, Santa left a mess. He should have cleaned it up. Or did I say, I think I said, Santa made a mess. He should have cleaned it up. Because one of the things that I was told when I was little, like one of the little, I don't know if you call it a song, a cleanup song, was make a mess, clean it up. Like you just keep seeing, make a mess, clean it up, make a mess, clean it up. That was how I learned to keep things clean and tidy when I was little. So I think it's funny that I like mentioned that about Santa. I was like, well, why didn't he clean it up? Now my mom has to clean it up. That's not cool. I know that you left presents, but like you could at least clean up after yourself before you leave, take your shoes off. We are and we are an Asian family. We live in that sort of household where we do not put our shoes on while we're in the house. We don't walk around with shoes on in the house. It's gross and dirty. You definitely don't put your shoes on the bed. This is about as close as my outside clothes get to being on my bed. I would not get in my bed with these clothes on. And if I've gone somewhere where I feel where it's particularly germ filled, where it's more likely that I have maybe sat on something kind of gross. Where I work with kids. Actually, I work at like elementary schools. So those clothes when I come home, they come off and I change to some comfy clothes. And I sit on the couch in those clothes and not in my dirty outside clothes. If you know, you know. Like, if you know, you know, for real. Yeah, but this is as close as my outside clothes get to being on my bed. They get to be on the top, and that's it. So that's some of the stories. Oh, since it is spooky month, I thought I'd tell this story that apparently, okay, I was talking to my mom about this before I did this so that I could like try and get the facts straight, but she was like, I don't have a good memory. Why are you asking me this? And I was like, well, I thought you would know because you told the story all the time. Apparently, okay, there's two versions of this, maybe. I'm going to tell the one that I feel like was told the most, which is that when I was little, I used to say that there was a man in my closet, like a shadow man in my closet with like a hat, like a top hat. And before, when my mom would tell the story, she said that it wasn't really something I was like afraid of. It was just someone who was kind of like there and watching. But then when I asked my mom about it the other day, she said, I don't know what hat you're talking about, but you were afraid of him for sure. And I was like, I was? And she was like, yeah. Because I thought it was just like, oh, just like he's just a dude who's there, whatever. But she said I was afraid. And then she reminded me that when I was younger, I used to be like, I couldn't sleep by myself for a really long time. And not like little, like fourth or fifth grade, maybe. Maybe younger than that. But like I was older, old enough to be sleeping by myself. And I couldn't. She would sleep on the floor. She would sleep in the bed with me. This isn't the bed I had at the time. My bed then was smaller, was a twin. And she said she thought that stemmed from that. But I don't like, I mean, obviously I don't remember that time, but I feel like that wasn't the case. I feel like the man in my closet was its own thing, and then this thing, not being able to sleep by myself, was an anxiety thing and a separation anxiety thing. I think that's probably what it was. I don't think that was related to the spooky man in my closet, but yeah, I used to say that there was a man, as far as I know, as the story goes, and what's been repeated more than the other story is there was a man in my closet who had a top hat. And I know I've looked into like ghost stories related to that. I know that there's like a man in a hat, like that's like a common like story or urban tale or whatever. But yeah, I don't think I was afraid of it. And then my aunt, who I guess like has some kind of sense for that kind of thing, said that there is a man who like lives in my room, not necessarily in my closet, but in my room. And then when this was like after I'd already moved out and gone to college, I guess she asked my mom if my mom wanted her to ask the man to like leave. My mom was like, no, he's not bothering anyone. And I was like, well, I live here now, but it's not like he's bothering me, I don't think. I am someone who's always kind of felt like I'm watched all the time, but I don't necessarily think that's in like a paranormal way, and more of in a haha, like what was that show called? The Truman Show, where like you don't know you're on like a sitcom and you are, but like you just think it's your life. That's how I feel, like I'm on a reality show and I'm always being filmed. And is that partially my fault? Probably, because do I look at and talk to the camera that is not there? Absolutely, all the time. Could it also partially be because of the fact that I was videotaped so much as a kid? Maybe. I don't know. Perhaps. Do I also like to pretend I'm on one of those like idol Korean celebrity shows? What is it called? Like I Live Alone. Is that what it's called? I Live Alone, or the one where it's like the one where like they film someone and they film like their daily, like they film them vlogging basically, but it's like the cameras are like all over their house and they go through their like just their regular daily routine. So that people can be like, oh, how do the celebrities live? They're just like us, like that kind of a thing. Do I pretend to do that all the time? Yes. And it honestly really motivates me to do things and get things done because I'm thinking that there's someone else watching me. But I do constantly feel like I'm being watched. Has that amped up recently? Yes. Do I know why? No. Oh well. Maybe it's because I'm doing this and so I'm used to being actually in front of the camera. But yeah, so that's my spooky story for since it's October and Halloween is coming up, which I'm excited for. When during Halloween, speaking of Halloween, I watched like one of the most recent videos that I just left off of the home videos was me trick-or-treating, and I was, oh my god, so cute. I was Josie from Josie and the Pussycats. Adorable. Clearly I love Josie and the Pussycats. We go and say trick or treat, go get our stuff. It was really, really cute. And I always wanted to go and give candy to the kids who were coming up to the house. Yeah, I don't know. I was a little social butterfly when I was little. For real. And I love to talk. I still do. we have an office in our house, and it's like in the back. In our back office, there was always this kind of like vibe back there. Okay, I say always, but the reason I bring it up is because I don't know when it started, but it felt like I've always had like bad vibes back there, which it's fine now, honestly. And my sister like knows more like witchy stuff than I do, and I trust her with that. So she like cleansed the area and like hung some stuff up back there, like flowers and stuff that's supposed to like help, I guess, and it feels fine now. But for a really long time it felt like there was something back there. Like I didn't even like walking past our hallway, because the hallway leads straight down to the office. I didn't like walking past our hallway if the door to that was open. Like it would freak me out. I think probably part of the reason just because it's dark and down a long hallway. But apparently when I was really little, that wasn't the case, because there's a million videos of me in the back office on the computer, playing on a computer at like 4 years old, playing. I was clicking pictures and the pictures would make noises. It was like Jumpstart, if you know what that was. I don't know if that's even still a thing, but Jumpstart, it was like educational games for kids, and they have little songs and stuff. So I was playing that all the time. So apparently when I was little, I didn't fear The Office, and then I hit a certain age threshold and I was like, now I don't like The Office. But now that my sister's like cleansed it, I'm like, it's chill. Like I go back there all the time. I do Zoom meetings back there all the time, stuff like that. That's also what I wanted to say. I was really good at playing by myself. Like even like the videos before, my sister and I have a 3-year age gap, which by the way I think is a really good age gap. And also for whatever reason, a lot of the other kids who are my age also had siblings who were the same age as my sister. Like we all had the 3-year age gap. Like I can think of like 3 or 4 other people who were like in my classes when I was in school who had siblings who were in classes with my sister, and some of them were friends with my sister. Which is kind of wild. I'm not gonna name any of them, obviously, for privacy reasons, but like that's crazy to me. I'm like, oh, that's so weird. And then like my sister is still friends with a lot of her friends from that time, and like some of them are the ones who have older siblings, and I'm like, oh, so like if we were ever to like drop one of her friends off at their house or something, I'd be like, oh, there's your brother, hey, what's up, did you do the English homework? Like it was, yeah, kind of weird. But even before my sister was born, in the videos, like I was really good at playing by myself and hanging out and doing whatever I wanted to. And I think some of the funniest stuff, like I would swing by myself, I would play by myself, talk to myself, put shows on by myself. But even after my sister was born, I would still be good at playing by myself if like my parents were playing with her and like I had to go like occupy myself essentially. I think it was like I was good at playing by myself and keeping myself entertained, but I was still also like, you could tell like I was really lonely. Like I wanted someone to play with. Like I'm really glad that I have a sister, and that we get along, because I know that that's not the case for everyone. So I feel really lucky and grateful that I have a sister and we get along, and we really like each other. We don't just get along. Like we like each other's company. Well, I really like her company. I hope she feels the same. I would assume so. She lets me visit often enough that I would think so. And we have three matching tattoos. So I feel like you wouldn't get matching tattoos with someone that you didn't like at least a little bit. So hopefully she likes me too. But there's this really funny video of my father playing with my sister in our front yard, and I'm like, okay, like he was throwing us up in the air and then catching us. I had already had my turn, and to keep myself occupied, I was like, well, he's busy with my sister now. It's just this video of like, it's focused obviously on my sister and my father, but if you look in the back and you listen close enough, you'll hear me and see me running back and forth in the back, like on our front lawn, and you'll hear me saying, haha, I win, Kayla. Kayla, my name is Mikaela, my nickname is Kayla. Kayla, not you, Kayla. Haha, I beat you this time, Kayla. I was racing myself. Like, literally racing myself. Like, in my head, little Mikaela must have seen another Mikaela running next to her, and she would be like, I won this time. Beat you again. Too slow. I got you this time. Oh, you were close, but you didn't beat me this. How crazy is that? Is that normal? I've never heard of any other kids do that before. I think it's hilarious. I think it's cool that I was able to play with myself like I race myself literally and like keep myself occupied and entertained like that for that amount of time and in a crazy way. Like I think that's so funny. But like is that a normal thing for kids to do? I don't know. But even if it's not, I think it's funny. So I thought I would share that story. Um, so I could keep myself entertained. But there's also plenty of videos of me playing with my sister. There's a video of like I'm playing, it was before we were getting ready to go like on a camping trip, so I'm in this like huge sleeping bag and I'm in there like I think pretending it's a cave or something, and I'm like, come in, come in, come in. I'm telling Nicole to come in, my sister, come in, come in, come in, come in, come in. And then I bring her in and then I turn my flashlight on and then she like laughs because she was like maybe a year old at this time. She crawls out and I go, okay, goodbye, sir. I don't know why I said it like that. I don't know why I called her sir. It's funny. We call it, that's really funny. I guess that has now evolved to we say boy, but like BOI, not like BOY because it's different. BOI, boy. Like we say that to each other all the time, like, oh, you fool, you silly boy, or like, I'm a hungry boy. I wonder if that devolved from the sir. Wonder if we continued that trend on. uh but like I very clearly love my sister. My mom said that something you'll notice in a lot of the home videos also is that when my sister was little, like my mom said, when my sister was first born, I like wanted to hold her all the time and I couldn't because I was like a little kid and they didn't want me to like accidentally hurt her or something or get too excited while she's in my arms, like I was gentle but like I was excited. I was really happy to have like a little sister, so it's like really cute that that feeling has still carried over. I'm still very much the big sister and have the feeling of a big sister. Does that mean I can't also be a passenger princess? No. If I have the opportunity to be, like when I'm here, like at in our hometown, I don't mind driving my sister around at all. Like that's totally fine. But if she wants to drive, like I'm all for it. But when it comes to like if I go visit her, I don't want to be the one driving. I will be passenger princess. I'll help navigate. I'm not sitting there not doing anything. But like, I don't mind that. So in that aspect, maybe she's the bigger sister. But overall, I am the big sister. I wish I grabbed it before I did this. So sorry, you're just gonna have to trust me. Maybe I can get an insert and put it in later. But I have this yeah, I guess I can take a picture of it and like put it into the video. Anyway, so sorry if you're listening, you're not gonna get it. But I have this like old note that I found when I was in my bachon's house the other day, and it was a note from me to my sister. My bachon would watch us a lot when we were little. Not as much as my other side of the family, but like a good amount. And I guess we were hanging out at my bachon's house and my sister wasn't feeling good, and so I wrote her this note because I always wanted to hang out with her like all the time, but obviously if she's not feeling good I don't want to bother her. So I wrote her this note and it was like, I know you're not feeling good. I hope you feel better soon. PS, I'm making something to help you. And I think I was making like some kind of little bell. Like I was trying to find a bell or something that I could give her to ring. So if she needed something, she could just do that instead of like try to call for me, like shout out to me or anything. It was just really cute. I was like, love Mikaela, hope you feel better, like all that. I just thought it was so, so cute when I found it. And something very funny is I put like, I was saying like something, whatever the sentence was, it included the word no, like I know this, like KNOW. I crossed it out and wrote NO, as I was like, oh no, that can't be right. So I crossed it out and put NO, and then later when I had to use the same word again, I put NO instead of KNOW. That was so cute. And it's written in like crayon, I think. Yeah, just very cute. I'll try and like find a picture and I'll put it in somewhere at some point, hopefully. Um, that was really cute. When we were even younger than that, there was a time, this isn't on video, so I can't share that with you. Honestly, thankfully. My sister doesn't remember this at all, and no one else remembers this. And I think it's because when I told this story, like when it had first happened, nobody believed me. They were like, that doesn't sound right. That sounds fake. Like that sounds like something you made up. Which, unfair a little bit to not believe little Mikaela, but also maybe a little bit valid considering how much I talked and how much BS I talked. Not lies. I was really imaginative and I like to have fun and I like to talk a lot. So, you know, who's to say? But this definitely did happen because I vividly remember it and the feelings of it. For whatever reason, we were at my bachan's house. My sister, I don't know if she was little. Like, she had to have maybe been 3 years old, maybe 4 at the most. Not older than that. Because she would have known better. Or maybe she did know better. Honestly, she probably did know better and was just doing it because she's she wanted to she wanted to be a little jerk. We were at my bachan's house and she was biting me like in the back. Like taking bites at my back. We had clothes on, so like it's not like bare teeth on bare skin or anything, but she would bite me. And I remember this repeatedly happening, and then she would like hug me and then bite me. Like, I thought, oh, she's cute. Like, she's giving me a little hug from behind. She's giving me a little back hug. No, she was doing it to bite me until it got to a point where she would be like, she was begging for me to let her hug me. And I was like, no, I know you're just going to bite me. I'm not going to let you hug me. You're just going to bite me. I don't want to deal with this anymore. I don't want to do this. Stop. Like, let's just play our little game, our Barbies or whatever. I'm not letting you hug me anymore. Like, we're not doing this. And she was begging. I was like, fine. I was like, you promise you're not going to bite me? And she was like, I promise I'm not going to bite you. And I was like, okay, fine. Then you can give me one last hug and then that's it. We're not doing this anymore. And she was like, okay. She goes to give me a hug and what happens? She bites me. She bites me and it hurt. It hurt really bad. I don't think it made me bleed, but it definitely left a mark. Oh, in my head, like I don't think she did, but in my head, she took a chunk out of my back for real. Like I was like, "What are you doing?" I was so mad. But I was like, "You promised." And she was like, "Haha, sorry." And I was like, "No, it's not haha, sorry. You bit me." Is that funny to you? Apparently it's funny to me now. It is funny in hindsight. Like honestly, I should have known better, but what was I doing? I was being a good big sister and giving her a chance to, make up for her mistake. And did she? No. I should have known. It's what's that story? The scorpion on the frog's back? Is that what it's called? The turtle's back? If you know, you know. That old tale. The like warning tale. Yeah. I have more stories from when I was little. I don't know how entertaining this was, or not. If you did enjoy it, cool. I also have been thinking a possibility for the future would be to like do like a react video essentially and react to the videos of like I would go through and watch the clips right now of when I was little and then my sister maybe potentially would react to them with me. But I think it would be fun to at least let you guys see some of the videos that I'm talking about. Like I think the aerobics one would be kind of funny to see. Me doing my ladies and gentlemen. I think that would be funny to see. Me racing myself would probably be funny to see. There's just like a bunch of. There's one where I talk about a cupcake, a ding dong cupcake. That me and my sister think is hilarious because I also asked my mom like, what are you doing? Because she was videotaping us and she's like, oh, I'm recording you. And then I said, well, what are you doing to Nicole? And she goes, I'm recording her. And I go, oh, her too? And then I just kind of move on. I'm like, okay, anyway, back to what I was saying. Like, I just think it's funny. See, me saying it, not as funny as if you can watch it. So, and then of course there's the classic videos of when the little kids are eating, but they're falling asleep, but they want to keep eating. Those are so funny. So I just have some funny videos of me and my sister that I think would be fun to react to. Hopefully with my sister, if she's down. She said she would be, maybe, if we had the time for it, but she wouldn't want to be on camera. But I can just angle it so she's not on camera, but you can still hear her, Or I can even put her on camera, but then block her with the... No, I'll just angle it so she's not, and we have some empty space, and then in the empty space I'll put the video. But I have to figure out how to get the video from the CDs onto my laptop for editing. I don't know how to do that yet. I don't have it, like, my laptop doesn't have a CD reader. I'd have to, like, probably buy one and then figure out how to do all that. So that's why it wouldn't be for a while. And my sister also is in school, so, like, it would have to be during like winter break essentially if I do that. But if that might be a fun idea, then you can let me know. Or not. I might do it anyway. because this is mostly for me to have fun and talk, because apparently I don't like to shut up, which is, oh my gosh, I don't know if I even said this, which is so true, because not only do I talk a lot, but also I'm just a really wordy person, as you've probably noticed, which is why these videos are so long, and why, like, if you see the other videos on my channel, like my let's plays, my gaming stuff is also so long, because I just don't stop talking. Like, I feel like my mouth almost moves faster than my brain a lot of the time, or maybe it's the other way around. My brain moves faster than my mouth. I think it's both, to be honest. I think it just starts going on its own, and then sometimes they misstep, and then one has to catch up with the other. Um, but I talk a lot, and I'm really wordy, and that's why I'm doing this, clearly. And apparently it's something I carried over from when I was little, which is another thing that I want to talk about. If you know that I like to end these things with a little life lesson if I can. And by these things, I mean podcasts, which is, I think it's really interesting. Like, if you have home videos, like I'm lucky enough to, go watch them and see like what parts of your personality carried over and what didn't carry over. And like, I thought a lot of who I am came from like experiences I've had and the environment I grew up in. Like, I thought that the reason I'm so expressive, like, naturally, I thought the reasons why I was so expressive since growing up, and why I talk so loud, and why I was so like eloquent, essentially. I don't know if I'd still say that about myself now, but at least when I was younger, definitely in comparison to a lot of my peers. I used to think that was because my mom is hard of hearing, and so she couldn't hear a lot, and so there was a long period of time. Even now, I'm more used to it now, and I'm more comfortable with it now, but it made me uncomfortable for a little while. But I was kind of the mouthpiece. Also, my family was kind of soft-spoken just in general. I was kind of the mouthpiece for my family, or the person, like, I would always have an opinion of like where to go to for dinner, or what I wanted to do for the weekend, or stuff like that. And like, if no one else is going to say it, then I'm going to say what I want to do, because like, let's do something, right? But I was kind of the mouthpiece. I also had to be like her ears, and so I talked a lot for her when we were out, like in busy places, like if we were ordering food, or like going to the movies, or anything like that, grocery store, like interactions where you have day life, but like it might be harder if you can't hear as well. I was a lot of times the ears and mouth piece for my mother, but I thought that I was so loud and expressive, and I talked so much because my mother was hard of hearing, so I had to work harder to make sure that she could hear what it was that I needed from her when I was like a little kid. And then the expressions obviously also help, because like, you don't need to hear expressions, you see them. So I thought that was why, but watching these videos, I'm like, no, I think I was just born like that. I think that's just part of who I always was, and part of my personality this whole time. Yeah, I think that's just who I was. Like, I was always talkative and friendly and outgoing. And I also think watching some of that back, and like looking back on it, will help you see maybe what you've lost along the way. And if you want it to stay gone, you're like, no, I left that behind because it doesn't serve me. Or maybe if you're like, hey, I when I was a kid, I used to be like this, and I kind of like that, I want to bring some of that back into my life. Because I think it's important to let yourself be a kid sometimes when you're an adult. I'm only 26, which feels old, especially because, like I said, I teach kids. I teach and oversee kids. I was a teacher last year, and then this year I kind of got a promotion at my day job. And so I'm more of like an overseeing, like classroom management helper, whatever teachers need help with, I'm there to like help out with, or like sub in when I need to. But, you know, those kids, like their imaginations, even with all the crazy changes of the internet and the access to overload of information, and kind of honestly a lack of space for kids to be kids and teenagers to be teenagers. Even with all of those obstacles, and with COVID happening and stunting a lot of growth in terms of education, but also just in terms of like social interaction, even with all those things, these kids are just imaginative, and they like to have fun, and it's cool to see them not be afraid to just be themselves, and to learn these new experiences of like life not always being fair. You don't always get what you want. Sometimes you have to share with other people even if you don't want to. Sometimes you have to get along with people that maybe you don't really like, but it's okay to still just be kind and polite to each other. It's amazing, honestly. If you have the chance to work with kids and you're not like entirely opposed to it, I would say to give it a try. Like, I learn something new from these kids every time I interact with them. Like, every week I learn something new and I grow more into myself. And I remind myself to be a kid again sometimes. Being a human is hard. Being an adult is really, really hard. And if you don't let yourself take the time to live in the whimsy and the excitement and the joy, like just pure joy of being a kid and like the easier moments and the fun moments, you're missing out. And you're probably losing those like shiny parts of yourself that it's the longer that you like don't hold on to or grab onto or interact with those parts of yourself, the harder it is going to be to get back those parts of yourself. I think you'll always still be able to get them. It's just harder and harder as you get older and older. So let yourself be a kid sometimes, not all the time. Obviously you have to be responsible, or if you're not fully an adult yet, like live your life, y'all. If you're in college, be responsible. Don't do anything reckless, but like have fun, live your life, enjoy it. Like, be a kid. Be a kid. Take a day and just do nothing. Color in a coloring book, do puzzles, play video games, go to the beach and run around like crazy with friends. I don't know. Just, I mean, don't be reckless and disrupt other people, you know? Like, don't do anything that's going to hurt anyone, including yourself. But, like, have fun. That's probably why people love going to like amusement parks, or that's probably why I think nostalgia, and unfortunately I'm not a fan of all the remakes happening right now, but you know, remakes are a thing, and nostalgia, we love living in our nostalgia. We want to be kids again sometimes, and I think if we just let ourselves have those moments, even just like once a month or every couple months, or during like special, like during Halloween, dress up, or during, you know, Christmas, you know, I don't know, like do a little advent calendar for yourself, something fun. Like, be a kid for a little bit when you can and when it's safe to just be a kid for a little bit, and I think you'll find parts of yourself that you maybe forgot about that you wanted to be reunited with. And also watching these videos made me just have a lot of empathy for kids nowadays and the kids that I teach. Like, of course I'm gonna get frustrated with them, but like, they're all good kids. I really don't think that there's bad kids. I think there's kids who need more attention, or more of, they're missing something in their life back at home that they're not getting, like a key thing that they need, and because of that it's affecting them and the way they interact with everyone else around them when they're outside of home. There's no bad kids, but like watching little me, I'm like, oh yeah, like even when I'm like, there's videos of me where I'm screaming my head off. Like, there's one video where I wanted to go outside, but it was late and dark, and I very clearly needed to go in bed, like go to bed, and it was probably really cold. My parents were like, no, like my mom was like, no, it's dark outside, Kayla. We cannot go outside. It is too dark. And I'm screaming, outside, outside, why not? And while I was watching it, I was like embarrassed. My mom was like, why don't you like talk about this or include this in like a react video? And I was like, no, it's embarrassing. But like, honestly, is it? Like, when you're a kid, like, you have very few ways that you have learned to communicate that you need something, and screaming and crying is one of those ways. And you're feeling like the same big emotions that us as adults feel, but in your tiny little body, and you don't have the life experience or the like, you don't know how to handle it. And so of course you're going to let it out in like what probably seems like a crazy way at first, but it's like you don't know how else to let that out. So, yeah, it just made me really have more empathy for the kids that I work with. Not that I like didn't have empathy for them before, but just like more so of like reminding myself, oh yeah, like seeing when I was little and how I acted, and like being like, oh, what I'm doing here reminds me of this kid here, like, oh, I was like this kid. I don't know, it's just something about it. So if you have home videos, go watch them, remind yourself of what you were like as a kid, see what you've kept, see what you haven't kept, see what you're missing, what you've lost. I think what you've chosen to get rid of and what you've lost are two different things. And be a kid again. Yeah, that's it. Truly, the whole be a kid again and have fun. Let yourself do that. I think it's important, especially in these trying times. Yeah, thank you for I mentioned it in my gaming video. I'm playing this game called Unpacking. It's really fun. It's like an organization thing. Love to organize. If you know me, you know I love to organize. Um, I'm like literally unpacking someone's stuff as they like move into new places. Anyway, not the point. I mentioned in my last podcast about my Wi-Fi being really, really bad in a certain area of my room and it being really annoying. It's fine. My mom literally offered like, let's get an extender or something. And I was like, I literally have one and it doesn't do anything. She's like, let's get a new one. And I was like, whatever. Maybe. But I mentioned in my gaming video, but I didn't mention it here. I figured out it's called a dead zone. That's what it's called. And I've looked up like possible causes for it, which like some of them seem maybe plausible, but some of them I'm like, that's not the problem here. And then the only solutions really that would work for it are like an extender, which I already have, or amplifier. I don't know which one it is. I think it's an extender. Where it like makes the Wi-Fi extend literally to other places of your house, or moving our router, which I just like cannot do, or getting a new internet provider, which I'm also not gonna do because the Wi-Fi is fine everywhere else. It's spotty sometimes, but like it's just a problem here in my room, and even like sometimes it does work. It just normally doesn't work. Yeah, but I wanted to mention that here because I know that there's not gonna be a ton of, maybe there will be, but there might not be complete and total crossover between people who are watching or listening to my podcast and people who watch me do my gaming stuff. So it's called a dead zone. I know what it's called. I know the solutions for it and the possible causes. And I think I just have to deal with it, at least for now, unless I find something else, some other way to deal with it. Yeah, I'm just gonna have to live with it. Anyway, that's it. Thank you for listening. I think my next podcast will probably be a K-drama one, so just heads up for that. But yeah, thanks for tuning in. Thanks for spending some time with me. It's been about an hour. And I will see you next time. Have a lovely rest of your day, evening, morning, week, whatever it is for you. I hope you're doing well, and I'll see you next time. Love, Mikaela. Bye.